Welcome to the Greening Casino training series produced by Peaks to Prairies and the Western Sustainability and Pollution Prevention Network. In this series, we hear from casino professionals on how to make green by going green. You'll want to watch all 10. In this video, we explore casino waste reduction.
If you look at this problem, the EPA has some great numbers, and there's lots of numbers out there, but we know that the problem is really big. Maybe it's a third of all food that we're producing globally, 40% in the U.S. The numbers aren't going to be precise, but I think the general directional trend is that this is a big, big problem, and it's only been growing, and so it deserves our attention. It deserves our attention because, first of all, it's costing a lot of money. We are putting about $250 billion a year into the garbage with food waste, and that's a global number, but it's a stunning number, $250 billion a year. In the food service world, there tend to be two types of food waste. There's pre-consumer and post-consumer. And the pre-consumer is the stuff that we're throwing away due to overproduction, spoilage, expiration, and trimmings. So trimmings would be the trimmings from fresh produce and meat. And these items are things that are tending to be thrown away by kitchen staff. They are things within the control and custody of the food service operator. Whereas post-consumer waste is what we often call plate waste, which is what's left on a guest's plate or tray at the end of a meal period. And that tends to be as a result of what a guest is choosing to eat, what they take, how hungry they are. It has something to do with portion sizes. So we have control over both of these streams, but we have more control over pre-consumer because it's food service employees who are making these decisions. Now, I mention this because often when we talk about waste, we talk about it as food waste. We talk about it as being one thing. And I would submit to you that food waste is actually two very different things because the pre-consumer and post-consumer happen for different reasons. And as a result, it's important to have strategies to address each of these independently. But where do we begin? And there's lots of things that we can do out there that range from aerobic digesters to dehydrators to portion control. There's all sorts of things. And sometimes this is a little bit confusing, and it can make you feel a little bit dizzy because you're not sure where to start. And so I always recommend that people go first to get organized by looking at the EPA food waste hierarchy, which is probably the single clearest, most useful graphic tool that we have in the food waste management world. And it's straightforward. It basically says there are a series of things which are really good to do about food waste, and then as you move down this hierarchy, there are things which are less attractive to do about food waste. And it's often the case that people will start at the bottom and work their way up. And so I want to point out today that source reduction, which means prevention and minimization of food waste, is at the top of this hierarchy. And so if we want to think about where we should be investing our time and energy, source reduction is the place to do it. Prevention should overshadow everything else that you do, including many other worthy things. So I'm not here to say that anything else on the hierarchy is in any way lacking. It's all critical, but prevention often gets ignored, so I'm here to raise the cheer for that today. And you might say, well, how do I go about doing that? And I would suggest that you have to first change your perspective and look at food service, and particularly casino food service, as an opportunity to learn some things from the manufacturing world, where for years we've been eliminating waste. Because when you look at a kitchen, it's really just a big manufacturing plant. In fact, it's one of the more complicated factories you'll ever see because it produces so many different products. It's not just one product. It's in many cases hundreds, sometimes thousands of products. So the materials we're working with, of course, are food, not steel, not plastic. We're dealing with food. And so we're going to have to see what can we learn from the manufacturing world that will allow us to deal with this problem.